You ever walk into a room and forget why you came in? Now imagine your brain doing that. Not just with errands, but with safety, memory, trust, even your sense of who you are. That's the power trauma can have. It's not just all in your head. It literally rewires the brain. PTSD isn't just about having bad memories or being too sensitive. It's your brain trying to protect you by becoming a battlefield itself. Let's break it down. When you experience trauma, whether it's a car accident, abuse, combat, or something that seems small but hits deeply, your brain immediately kicks into survival mode. And I don't mean metaphorically. There are actual changes happening in three main areas of the brain: the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex. First, the amygdala, your brain's personal alarm system. It's designed to detect danger and signal you to fight, flee, or freeze. In a normal situation, it goes off when there's a threat and calms down when it's over. But trauma turns that fire alarm into a paranoid smoke detector. It becomes hyperactive, constantly scanning for danger, even when you're safe. That's why someone with PTSD might jump at loud noises or have panic attacks over something as simple as a scent or a sound. To their brain, it's DEFCON 1 all the time. Now let's talk about the hippocampus, your brain's memory manager. It helps sort experiences into past and present, so you know the tiger isn't still in the room, it just was in the room. Trauma? It messes that up. The hippocampus shrinks in people with PTSD. That means your memories can feel stuck on repeat. You're not remembering the trauma, you're reliving it. Nightmares, flashbacks, or just that awful feeling like something bad is always about to happen, that's your hippocampus struggling to put the trauma in the done and dusted folder. Then comes the prefrontal cortex, the wise, rational CEO of your brain. It helps regulate emotions, plan your next move, and basically talk your amygdala down when it starts screaming. But trauma weakens this area, making it harder to stay calm, think clearly, or even trust that the world is safe again. When the prefrontal cortex goes offline, the amygdala runs the show. And let's just say it doesn't do nuance. So, the brain becomes a system of overreacting alarms, fragmented memories, and impaired self-control. And this isn't just theory, it shows up in brain scans. The differences are visible. PTSD isn't imaginary, it's physiological. But it gets even more complex. When trauma happens early in life, say during childhood, it doesn't just mess up the brain's wiring, it builds it wrong in the first place. The developing brain adapts to stress by becoming hypervigilant, mistrusting, and emotionally dysregulated. Basically, it learns the world is dangerous and then structures itself accordingly. This is where trauma doesn't just cause PTSD, it causes long-term changes in personality, relationships, even how we physically feel pain. You might also notice how trauma affects behavior. Irritability, emotional numbing, being easily startled, or feeling disconnected from reality. These aren't character flaws, they're adaptations. Your brain is trying to protect you by keeping you alert, keeping you guarded, keeping you away from anything that smells even remotely like the original threat. But the side effect? You might isolate yourself, sabotage relationships, or live life like you're walking through a minefield. And don't forget the body. Trauma doesn't stay locked in the brain. It messes with your nervous system too. People with PTSD often have elevated levels of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. That's why they may feel physically on edge. Heart racing, tense muscles, digestive issues, even autoimmune problems. The brain tells the body, we're not safe, and the body responds accordingly. But here's the thing, and it's important. The brain can heal. Neuroplasticity is real. Just like trauma can rewire the brain in harmful ways, recovery can rewire it in healing ones. Therapies like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and somatic therapies aren't just talk. They're designed to help the brain reprocess traumatic memories, restore balance to the nervous system, and strengthen those prefrontal circuits so you can feel in control again. Even mindfulness and meditation can help. Why? Because they calm the amygdala and engage the prefrontal cortex. It's like doing emotional weightlifting for your brain. And let's drop the stigma while we're at it. If someone had a broken arm, you wouldn't tell them to toughen up or get over it. So why do we say that to people with PTSD, whose injuries are just as real, just hidden? The truth is, trauma is common. more common than we think. And while not everyone develops PTSD, everyone has a brain that's vulnerable to overwhelming stress. The good news? Everyone also has a brain capable of healing, adapting, and growing stronger. So if you've experienced trauma or love someone who has, know this: you're not broken. You're not weak. Your brain did exactly what it needed to do to survive. Now it's time to teach it how to live. And that's the power of understanding the brain, not to diagnose ourselves or slap on a label, but to finally see trauma for what it really is. Not a personal failing, but a neurological injury. And one we can work with, not just suffer through. Because once we understand why we feel what we feel, how our brain got this way, we stop blaming ourselves and start reclaiming our power. If you found this video meaningful, drop a comment below and share your experience. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might find this content useful. And as always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.